Are you an expert, entrepreneur, or small business owner passionate about helping people through life's transitions? The Fresh Starts Expert membership is perfect for you. For just $55 per month, this dynamic membership is designed to boost your business and amplify your brand. Fresh Starts is here to provide you with business development, marketing, coaching, networking, publicity, community engagement, and more. With an SEO-optimized profile, exclusive press opportunities, and weekly co-working and business coaching sessions, you'll connect, grow, and gain visibility like never before. Are you ready to elevate your brand? We can't wait to work with you. Visit freshstartsregistry.com and become a Fresh Starts expert today.
Welcome back to A Fresh Story, the podcast where we have conversations about brave decisions to start over again. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Jenny. And we're so glad you're here today.
Meecham Whitson Meriweather is a culture writer, screenwriter, and forthcoming author whose work has appeared in Vulture, New York Mag, Men's Health, InStyle, and more. You've no doubt seen his tweets if you haven't blocked him yet, and he currently writes the pop culture newsletter, Now That I Mention It, on Substack. And you know, I will say this. We love every person we talk to on this podcast, but we were counting down to this episode like it was Christmas morning. Yeah. We are
there was
so excited.
A text message that just said Meech today that went between the two of us.
We were so excited. So I came across Meech. Did you go by Meech? Is that okay?
Yes. Okay.
So I came across Meech on Twitter, and I've been following you, and you bring so much like light to the day. Like pop culture takes, like it's true. And you're just like, but you do it with such an intelligent, you are like, talks least, says most. That's what you are, right?
So
you could, so you say so much with one word. I'm like, he just got about this whole movie in one word. Yep. He figured it out. So we're just so excited to have you here, and we can't wait to chat with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. How are you doing today?
I'm so good. I did have like a little allergy thing going on. I buy flowers bi-weekly. Usually like tulips or ranunculus or something like that. But every like 6 months I'll buy like lilies and then realize I'm allergic to them once they start blooming. So it's so funny that I'll like literally faithfully do it like every 6 months.
It's like enough time to forget that you're allergic to them.
Exactly. And it's just like when something is so beautiful, you just like, it is what it is. And they don't even smell good. But they're just like,
just like to see them. Yeah, no,
exactly.
Understood.
I love having fresh flowers in the house.
It makes everything feel alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially because like it's like very drab weather right now, and it's autumn and nothing is really blooming, so it's perfect.
I love
Absolutely
that.
Perfect. Yeah.
I love that. Well, why don't you take us back to the beginning of your Fresh Start story?
Yeah, I feel like I have had a lot of different fresh starts. I've worn a lot of hats. Have a lot of different careers, and I don't know. I originally wanted to start out as an architect. Went to school for engineering actually, and then kind of moved into architecture, and then realized how utterly terrible at math I was. And I'm just like, what can I do? And I'd always been a writer. You know, I'd been like, I won a poetry contest when I was 8 years old. So I was published like a long time ago. But I'd always wanted to be a writer. And so it kind of fully happened and transitioned behind the scenes. I want to say back in like 2012. And so I've been behind the scenes, like, you know, doing stuff for NBC Universal and doing stuff for just kind of a little bit of freelance, but not really. But then when the pandemic happened, I was like, well, actually before the pandemic happened, I was doing a lot of stuff for social. And then when the pandemic happened, I was just like, well, now kind of what am I going to do? Like I'm having panic attacks every day. Like I can't do work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I kind of just went for it and like saw like a pitch on Twitter, a pitch call to like write about like what pop culture, celebrity relationships really like broke you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually wrote about Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson.
Yeah.
So
I went down that rabbit hole during COVID too.
It was insane. It was insane. So I wrote about them and I was just like, this kind of is great for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've still been writing and still been, you know, doing a lot of work. I work a lot in Sweden. My ex is from there, so I'm there a lot and kind of have like business relationships with them now. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's my freshest start. The most blooming, since we're talking about flowers, the one that's yeah, I think it's been, you know, pop culture writing is something that's just always been with me. It's always been exciting to me. There's usually something going on, you know, for the past like year or so, there'll be like 6 weeks where celebrities are really boring, but for the most part, I think it's been really interesting. And yeah, I just love, you know, writing about pop culture because it is so influential in society. You know, you can look at the presidential race, you can look at films, you can look at music, you know, that all of that pop culture kind of is within a thread somewhere. They all kind of come together.
Yeah.
So
well,
when the aliens do come, well, they've come already, but when they do come to conquer us in the next like 20 years, they'll be able to see all my tweets and be like, okay, I get it. I get it.
They're such good tweets.
Laugh.
Such good
yeah,
tweets.
They're good tweets. So, okay, I have a couple of questions. What was the poem about that you wrote when you were 8 that was published?
Oh my God. It was actually really dark.
We love that.
That makes sense.
Dark. So it was about sorry, I don't know. Today is like really loud for some reason. Now there's sweet.
You're good. The energy is.
So it was about Emmett Till.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a heavy subject matter for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, I think for Black History Month, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a poetry contest, like 250 students from around like the like school area. I don't know what you call it, but had entered. And so mine won like first place. And it was about how society was kind of, because I guess he wasn't much older than me. I think he was 5 years older than me. And so yeah, I wrote a poem about it. Was called The Awakening, and it's so funny because after it got published, I realized there was a spelling error, and it said The Awaking.
Oh no!
It actually makes more sense. So like, bravo to me, my obnoxious. But yeah, it was really really dark, and I think it, you know, that was my first kind of brush with pop culture, I guess, if you really want to call it that. But it was, it showed me the power of words, and it showed me that, you know, my voice can be heard as loud as it already is. That, you know, my words mean something. And so that was, for me, like really important. And it kind of struck a nerve that I was like, okay, well, I can go somewhere with it.
I love that. I think it speaks to the point that you were making too, that like pop culture doesn't exist over here on its own. It is woven through our lives constantly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, here's my other question. So where did you study engineering, then architecture, and then writing?
So I started out engineering at Milwaukee School of Engineering in Seoul, Wisconsin. And then I was what's called AECM. It was architectural engineering and construction management. And then I moved to University of Wisconsin to study architectural design. And what was it called? It was architectural design and what was it called? Because it was the school was called SARUP, but it was urban planning. It was urban planning. Okay. That feels like it was actually a really long time ago now, 16 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. You're a little younger than me.
Yeah. It was insane, but that was, so I did that, and I just like really still fell in love with like what I was writing in English, and you know, fell in love with one of my English professors, and then it kind of just
classic story.
Really, exactly. So it kind of just really pushed me to continue writing because I didn't really feel like that was a career I was still in love with. And I'm actually really glad that I got out of that program because it was around the time the housing crisis happened. Yeah. And so all of my friends who had stayed in the architecture program were all unemployed. And I was like, that, you know, not to be, you know, that girl, but like I'm a bitch who be knowing. So
yeah, you are.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was one of those things. And
I love that. And now tell me about how Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson broke you. as a pop culture couple.
Yeah, I grew up listening to. I was like one of the people who grew up listening to 98 Degrees. Like I absolutely loved 98 Degrees.
They're good.
Give me one night, una noche. Like for me, that was huge. It was huge. I'm like, were they as good singers as like NSYNC or like the Backstreet Boys or what was that one band that was like Liquid Dreams? O-Town.
O-Town. Gosh, so inappropriate.
That song, yeah.
But I don't know. I really liked them, and so when also like Jessica Simpson, my heart, Irresistible, like she was that girl. One of the only ones who was actually in the top tier of like competing with Britney Spears, and it really, I loved their relationship. That whole like newlywed moment of Jessica Simpson wondering if she's eating chicken or fish, like that is that's pop culture. You can still say that to like anyone who's older than a millennial and they'll get it immediately. It's just one of those things. And so they actually, like, I fully remember they broke up because it was my mother's birthday and I was home from college for Thanksgiving, and remember that like sound of MTV World News, like that was like in the background, and I was like, my head turned because I was like, oh my god, what's going on? And
Motor.
It was the fact that they were breaking up, and I was like, oh my god. But it really kind of changed something in me because that was around her whole like With You era. It was she's lying in the closet and just like breaking out her whole heart and being like, no, I'm with you, I can live my hand. Like it was so great. It was so great.
All the references to the show and the music video too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was all tied in together, and I just thought it was so brilliant. And I was like, this is the first relationship that I felt like I was being broken up with. Like I felt like my world was crushed. It felt like my parents were getting divorced, and like they weren't much older than me. I mean, well, Nick Lachey was, but they weren't much older than me. And I was like, this is a relationship crumbling that I'm witnessing, and it's going to change the fabric of my life forever. And it did. It did.
Right.
So interesting.
What I will say is, I am always, and I always will be, Team Jessica Simpson. However, the song that Nick Lachey did, the best, what is it? The Best of Me?
The Best of Me, right?
Literally, that was his best song. And I was like, when heartbreak gets you, it gets you. He really like reached down into the depths of his soul to like get that song out.
It was that music video he met Vanessa Lachey on.
Yes.
Right? But she wasn't named Vanessa Lachey that
exactly.
Right now.
Exactly.
Vanessa. Yeah.
Which is so crazy because they the lives kind of separated, and they really, got married, and both are still married to their people and have the same amount of kids now. And it's just, it's so weird that way that you could think that someone is the big piece of your puzzle, because everyone like, oh my god, they're so great together, like blah blah blah. But also like Jessica was so young when they got married.
Young.
She was a child.
I think there was a lot going on there too. I think that show really set up reality TV, and it influenced reality TV significantly.
Yes, and people don't want to give it its like just due, but I think now it wasn't. I like, obviously there were things going on behind the scenes that you have to like set things up and like kind of manufacture things, but most of it was still just like
they didn't know what they were doing.
Exactly.
As far as production,
Right.
And now everyone is trying to get a viral moment and trying to get followers and trying to get and it just really
social media didn't exist, right? Exactly. It wasn't. So you were watching little flip phone. We just got to tune in, and I remember tuning in every week on my little TV in my room, right? And it was so exciting. So this is interesting though, because listening to you talk about that you were an architecture person, you actually still are, right? So you're putting together the pieces of all of these cultural moments in some sort of a framework, right? That you were then like, kind of explaining all of this to people. So my question for you is like, we talk so much about representation with media and culture, and I think people don't understand how important it is, right? To see people in movies and TV and on social media that represent you. And like I'll give a personal example. I have a very hard time, and I'll just say this here, with things like the new Kristen Bell, what's his name, show, because I like Adam Brody. I'm a size 14 woman. I'm so tired of seeing stick thin women getting like all of these single mom movies with the stick thin. Yeah, of course they're getting the guy. This is not a secret, right?
Yeah.
So like I always say when I produce, I'm going to put women who have curves like Melanie Linsky. I would like to see her in a rom-com tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, because you see this all the time. Why is representation so important in media?
I think so. There's two kind of ways to look at this. So like from a writer's perspective and from a just like a viewer's perspective. From the writer's perspective, I think it's really important and really interesting the way that, the way basically white men run Hollywood. And they're like, well, yeah, these are the stories that people are putting out and blah, blah, blah. And then when it comes to writing stories about other people, 9 times out of 10, they get it wrong. And they don't understand that, like, for me, a bisexual Black man of color, I can write stories about white people because I've been fed that my whole life. I have had to be in white spaces. I've had to experience, white love stories and white life, forever. Right. That's not true for someone else coming into a Black space where queer people are, and we're all different. You can't write that because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get the slang wrong. You're gonna get things wrong, and it's just like the stereotypical things are gonna all come off terribly. So I think from a writer's perspective, it's really interesting that way. But then from a viewer's perspective, I think it's so interesting as a kid who grew up with Disney movies, and people are all talking about how now movies with any kind of queer leaning thing are going to make kids gay. And it's like, we all grew up watching straight love stories and we still came out gay. So it's just those things.
One could say maybe straight love stories make people gay if that's the argument, right?
Exactly. And I think, we really, as representation for Black queer men, we really only have, I don't even want to say his name, but Billy Porter. Jeremy Cook, who I adore, who was in Hollywood with Ryan Murphy. I'm going to cross myself when I say his name. Ryan Murphy. But I think it's really, really hard because I think audiences have such a strong bias against seeing leading men who are not a specific type of white, or leading women who are not this, like you said, this blonde, petite, stick figure.
Yep.
I think we all have our own biases, and when we do finally see that, we do see Queen Latifah in what was that film where she's dying, and Last Holiday.
Okay.
So we see her in that, and it's amazing. And we see Devon Joy Randolph, who's killing it on every red carpet. Oscar winner Devon Joy Randolph, I should say.
Yeah.
And I think for some people, it's hard for them to process because they're like, well, this is different than what I'm used to. Can I drop my disbelief? Can I suspend it? Can I even be in this story without thinking about, oh, this person is Black, or oh, this person is a fat woman, or this person is a tall woman, or this person doesn't look like me. You know what I mean? And I also think the way that we talk about plus size or fat women or oversized, I think we automatically hear someone say, oh, I'm fat, and then oh, that's bad. It's people are all different shapes. So you putting a label on that is just weird. It's the same way that they're trying to do with from Bridgerton, Nicola.
I was thinking that,
It's she's I'm not a plus size woman, and people in different worlds may view her as something different, but I think we should kind of listen to the person who is saying what she feels,
Right.
Yeah, I think representation is really one of those interesting things that happens because I think people, they have to be willing to go outside of that, that comfort zone to hear a different love story that they might not be familiar with, So I know it's hard. Yeah. It's really hard. But I'm trying to break that. So
I was going to say,
what that. We appreciate that.
You are. And so what has been a love story that has really shaken you to your core in media?
Besides Jessica Simpson,
Jessica. I'm talking in a movie or two. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one that I really, really love is this Georgian film directed by Levin Akin, who is also directing episodes of Interview with the Vampire.
Okay.
But
Which I'm gonna watch because on your recommendation.
You need to.
Okay.
But it's called And Then We Danced.
Mm.
It's this like Georgian from like Georgia the country, not Georgia the state.
Yeah.
But it's about Georgian dance, and it's this kind of like not really forbidden, but it's a competition amongst these dancers. One who, the new boy in town who comes and just is effortlessly good at this dance, and they kind of bond and they click. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's just a really beautiful story. And it really is so interesting because, again, pop culture is so present everywhere. There's a scene where they're like, at like a country house and everyone else is asleep and it's just these two guys awake, and the glow of like a yellow lamp or a lantern outside is pouring in through the window, and all we hear is Robin's honey. And it's I'm like, Robin's honey in a Georgian film, and it's so beautiful, and she's cooing and he does this like dance for him. It's kind of like a private dance. It's so beautiful, but you're like watching this private tender moment between them. And it's I don't know, and I really do actually love stories with like heartbreak at the end, or like an ambiguous ending, or things like that. Like Call Me by Your Name, as he's sitting there like, yes, beautiful love story. People will say what they want to say about that movie, but I love an open ending, or I love that you had love, and it doesn't necessarily for me need to be happily ever after. But I love loving hard and then feeling something. It's okay if you get your heart broken. It's okay if, this love story doesn't last forever, but you had a great love. And I feel like so few people get that these days.
Yeah.
So,
I think that there's a fear of surrender there for a lot of people.
Yes. Well, see, that's actually a big issue with me and like rom-coms lately. Because people are too afraid to like do something stupid or feel seen as cringe, or you never get like a Can't Hardly Wait where someone's out on someone's lawn blasting that song. Like you never get like a big moment running through the airport now, because people are like, oh my God, that's cringe. I don't want to run through an airport. Like, and now you're not in love anymore, you idiot. So.
Right. I mean, big risk, big reward. And like, sometimes you have to be a little embarrassing. And I think that, but I think sometimes you only understand that when you have that person worth losing.
Yes.
Like, that you're afraid to lose.
That you'll do anything for.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what's a pop culture take that you've had recently that people have not agreed with you about?
Oh my God. Like literally everything I do.
Okay. So give us an example.
Let's see. What's a big thing I think people were upset about. Oh my God, there's literally so many. I'm trying to like parse through one. I think, you know what? I think it's one of them was the being cringe is okay, being like people putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
Also, people do not know how to fucking flirt anymore, and it's really weird to me.
That's an issue. Yeah.
They don't know how to have a good conversation, and people are always posting like screenshots, especially like gay men. They're always posting screenshots of Grindr, but like also people will be posting about Hinge and Tinder, and they're like, oh my God, can you believe they said that? And I'm like, well, yes, because both of your conversations are shit. Like they're terrible.
Right.
And not even know how to have a conversation to go back and forth to like volley a flirtatious thing. Also, I really hate, one of my pet peeves is like on dating apps when people are just like, hey, handsome, or like, hey, sexy, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you should hit on someone as on a social media app as if you were in person. Say something nice about them. Notice something from a photo, from their profile. Nobody knows.
No, I agree with you. And I will say I've only dipped my toe into the dating pool very briefly after my divorce. But I have a lot of hot takes about it as somebody that is not even doing it. That and I am heterosexual, unfortunately, so I am, looking for a man. And so this thing that men are doing and maybe you can explain this to me, where they take 2 days to text back to a random question that you've asked. And it's like, there's nothing sexier than a banter. And I don't know why people are not understanding this.
Exactly. I have my friend Abby always says, she's like, you're too strict. I'm like, no, I'm not strict at all, actually. I think if we're having a conversation and like a back and forth conversation in the moment, and then you stop replying, you have 24 hours to reply to me, or I'm going to unmatch you and we're never going to speak again. Because there's no reason you can't just be like, okay, I have to get back to work, or I have to do something.
100%.
Do this, and then let's pick this up tomorrow, or let's pick this up later on. Just be communicative. You know what I mean?
Right. What's wrong with people? Really, the question is.
I have a problem. My pet peeve is that people, I think, misunderstood if he wanted to, or if they wanted to, they would, because they're like, well, sometimes you can't. And it's like, it's kind of a larger concept than just like a text back, right? It's prioritizing.
Yes.
Generally. Yes. If they wanted to prioritize you, they would prioritize you. And that might mean different things at different times. If somebody's mom passes away, they might not be able to prioritize you exactly the same in that moment. But like, I think that's what it comes down to is like, if you're bipping and bopping in text with somebody and then they have to go to deal with a client problem, that if they wanted to prioritize you, they would say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I have to deal with the client problem, or I had to deal with the client problem. I'm really sorry. I'm going to get back to you. And that's a pet peeve of mine.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, I would like your hot take on Jennifer and Ben.
Here's my thing. I think it's really difficult for two of the same sign to date, because also if it's a man or a woman, because usually those traits are flipped. So like we know Jennifer Lopez likes attention. She loves reassurance. She loves to just kind of be right in the center of things. Ben does not like that. And I love that he, is supportive of her, but their lifestyles are so completely different. To me, it was never going to work. Leos are insane. They are very like,
that's her.
You
need a lot of attention.
Yes. And that reassurance. And so you're constantly wanting it, but you don't want to ask for it.
No.
And then when you need to ask for it, then it's pissing you off. And then they get, so it's going to be just like a whole
nailed it.
cycle.
Yep.
And I think what people don't understand is that you can really, really love someone, and that's just not enough sometimes.
Yeah.
And they very, very, very obviously have great sex together. Like that.
Yeah.
No question.
Chemistry is there.
Like exactly. And so I think just because, it's that doesn't mean that there is also, like, Ben has his own shit that he needs to deal with.
Yep.
And no one's going to save him, and I don't really think he wants to be saved. I think he's just like going along with what he thinks he should be doing. And it's just like, his soulmate is Matt. Like, that is just it. Matt is in love with his life. And everyone else is, underneath that priority. And some people can't really handle that. So for me, I do think it's over, but I do think they'll keep coming back to each other.
Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton situation.
Not in a married kind of way.
I agree. And I think it's hard to go back to the person that you were with in the past, because you have a completely different life. I mean, they didn't have children or partners or, any of that other stuff. I saw this question on Twitter and I wanted to ask you, who is a celebrity that you think that the world needs to apologize to?
Ooh. I
mean, Jessica Simpson, I think, is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we were in the odds. We were in such a like disillusioned state of like body shaming and fat phobia and eating disorders. Like, everyone had an eating disorder. Like, it was insane. And I think the idea of seeing her as this like I think she's like 5'1" or 5'2".
Yeah, she's small.
She's like my height, I think.
Yeah, she's tiny. And so she was like, at one point, like, I fully remember watching like the making the video, and like all these other like things that like Diary, I believe it was. And she said she was like 89 pounds. That is like
and she's big on top.
Yeah, exactly. That was like a child's weight.
Yeah.
And so I think people saw her go from 89 pounds to honestly probably like 115.
Yeah.
And they were like, she is Mudang. She is insane.
You worked him in. I'm proud of you.
Yes. And I'm just like, they saw that, and she had literally done nothing. She was America's sweetheart. She did nothing but gain a little bit of weight. And the way everyone treated her was insane. I will say, going back, like, I've always loved her rendition of Take My Breath Away. It's like I will literally cry right now just thinking about it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I think mostly because I grew up with it, but I just like watched her performing it and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this sounds terrible. But like, I was like, is it maybe because I'm just like better vocals now? Or like maybe I was just taking it? I don't know. But I was like, I'm still rooting for her. But yes, I think they need to apologize to her. I think most of the list of people that celebs that need apologies is women, because I think we as a society treated women like, yes, their celebrity culture is more interesting than men's, because men really just never ever have anything important to say. They never have anything funny to say. And we really don't care who men are dating, but we do care about the lives of women, the interiority of women, because women have interiority. Like, you talk to a man and it's just like nothing is there. That's going on. But yeah, I think most of the people who need apologies will be women. I don't think we need to apologize to Jennifer Aniston, so we can skip that.
I think she's doing okay.
Yeah, I think who do I think? I think life happened, and then people. Do I think Lindsay Lohan needs an apology? I love her.
That was my question.
She did some questionable things, but
she did try to kidnap that baby.
She did, and then the mom of that child like punched her right in the face, and I'm like,
balance.
That is karma. There you go. You got it. She got it on her own.
What about Britney?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
of course. I think what's happening right now with Britney is even worse than. Oh, I don't want to say even worse than the whatever, but. It's really heartbreaking to watch people advocate for your freedom only to try to put you in another sort of prison and tell you what you can do and what you can't do. And it's so just baffling to watch. I had to unfollow her because like I would see the comments that people would write and I'm just like, you people are insane. But I had to unfollow her because she's literally been dancing the same for 20 years. You know, and people are like, oh my gosh, she's crazy. She's this, she's that. And it's like, if you watch a video of her from 2003 and one from yesterday, it's the exact same dance.
Did you tweet that? Did I see you tweet that? I saw somebody tweet that.
I think
it was you,
a couple of weeks ago, I think I did. And it's weird because the only thing that is different is she is not as skinny. She stopped wearing her retainer and her roots aren't done. Yeah. And so when people see her, they're picking these things apart. They're just like, oh, she's terrible. She's bad. She's got. First of all, she's been through so much. Let this woman go fuck the random guy in Mexico. Like,
dance in her
she wants to do.
Big house and just let her be happy.
Like her kids are growing up and she is going to be able to be the mom that she wants to be to them, and that they. I think, sometimes kids get brainwashed by their parents during a divorce. And, I think that definitely happened to them. But yeah, I think she's probably the biggest apology that society needs to give. Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that.
She was another one. She was so young when she had those kids. She definitely had postpartum.
Yes.
And nobody was taking care of her.
At all.
No.
Everyone was just taking from her.
Yes, true. So what was a piece of media from your childhood that you feel like really like changed the way that you were and who you are today?
Ooh, it would probably be a movie. I used to watch, thank the Lord that my parents had like great cable, not just like basic cable.
Thank God.
We have every single movie channel and I was always watching films. And I think I wrote about this. I was talking to the writer of Luster, Raven Leilani, about movies that we kind of like, not like R-rated movies that we like watch. And one of those was Unfaithful with Diane Lane.
I love Unfaithful. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It's the sexiest movie in the world.
Yes. And I think it really, first of all, there's so many books in that movie. And they made books sexy and they made reading sexy and like, yes, affairs, but like also like murder. But
also I gotta watch it again. I gotta watch that again. It's
I
so good.
Watch it and it's so crazy to like look at So when I first moved to New York, I lived in Soho. And it's so crazy to see how like Soho was depicted back then as this just like bare place and like really dingy and grimy and like you might get murdered. But it was insane. And I think that was probably a really, really big piece of media. Anything with Rick Moranis, I love him. He is
we do love Rick
heart. Oh, actually, anything with Robin Williams as well, but specifically Dead Poets Society. I rewatch that movie every autumn just because
that makes sense.
Really, it's like one of those Harry Met Sally films that really feels like you know the East Coast in autumn, and I think it really having a figure of authority who was believed in you like that and just really saw you and didn't treat you like a child and gave you or like allowed you to have a mind of your own and really believed in you. I think that is so important for children to have, especially because there is like a queer coded character in there. And you know, he's like, I want to be an actor, and I'm like,
yeah.
And it also leads to you falling in love with your English professor. Like
exactly.
There's a through line there.
Full circle.
Yeah.
And it's really, really interesting. Yeah. I think that was probably one of the biggest pieces of media. Also Good Will Hunting. I think Robin Williams was just, there's a story that I am not ready to tell yet, but I will tell in my book about the time that I met Robin Williams and like what I was going through and everything that was going on in my life. And I had never, it's a really, really, really intense story. And then he died a couple weeks later.
Wow.
And I was like, I wonder if it's intense and it's intense.
We cannot wait to
reading it.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
I had a friend that ran into him. I went to NYU and she ran into him when we were there at a very important moment in her life too. Like he was like, he popped up for people.
Yeah.
And she like literally ran into him and he grabbed her by the shoulders and he goes, there you are. And then just like put her down and like she went away and she had just lost somebody that she loved. And it was just like one of those things. It's so weird. He was a very
like a guardian angel.
Yeah.
He is like a guardian angel. I love that. Okay, so next question for you. Now you spend your day like steeped in pop culture. This is what you do. You write about it. Looking at it from a zoomed out perspective, what do you see is kind of coming as the next, I don't know, trends in movies, TVs, like, you know, anything that you really see as like, we need to have our, like, can you forecast a little bit, the Meech forecast here?
Yeah, I think we are seeing a rise in like real like anti-heroes because I think we kind of went away from that for a while and got like a lot of stuff that was like it girl, like main character syndrome. Like, we got a lot of that and it was really fucking exhausting because like it made everyone think that they were the main character even though also like really, really intense like it girl syndrome. And I'm like, you're not an it girl just because you dress like an it girl. And those people that you're calling it girls now aren't even it girls. So like I think we really need to move away from that. And thankfully we are. But I think we're going back to kind of like the anti-hero, the Rachel getting married, the like hot fucking mess of a person who is realizing that even though they're going through a lot of things and they're, you know, not in the best spot for themselves or anyone else, that they are still worthy of being loved. I think we're really, really seeing a big trend about that.
There's like a grittiness, right? There's like a grittiness coming back.
I think that off that point, like I feel like we've openly accepted men as anti-heroes, and I feel like what the thing is next is like just accepting women as anti-heroes, right? Like I think Fleabag did a little bit of that, but we're still hesitant.
So there was a show, I want to say it's called like Work in Progress. I think it was called Work in Progress.
Sorry, that sounds familiar.
And so just going back off of what you said about us accepting Fleabag, I don't think if she was a tall, thin woman who was beautiful, we would be so accepting because Work in Progress was essentially the same thing. What fucked up, like this, I think this person was non-binary. But actually, no, she wasn't. She was a lesbian. She was like an older lesbian, like maybe late 40s, who was like a fat woman, bespectacled, like butch presenting, woman. And like the first episode is like she killed her therapist, like accidentally, not like a murder, but like the therapist dies while she's there. And so it's all of these episodes of her being, it's like kind of like not a good person, not a good friend, not a good client. And so all these things, and I had to ask myself about it, because I was like, did I not like this show because this person is awful, or because I felt like they didn't have any redeeming qualities? And I do think we have to kind of straddle the fence about having an anti-hero, because I do think they need at least one redeeming quality. Because like, is everyone still deserving of love? Yes, but also like you can still be a shitty person and I don't want to talk to you.
Well, I think that they have to do a good job of showing some sort of charisma, or like, right? Yes. Even if, like, I'm watching The Sopranos right now, and I've seen it before, but we're on the final season, and Tony's really cranking it up as far as being a little shit. And I just think, like, even though I don't know if that character necessarily has redeeming qualities, they've displayed to me that he is loved by the people in his life, right? And that there's a reason, or at least a connection. And I don't think that we always know how to do that with women.
Can I admit something?
You've never watched Sopranos?
I've never seen it.
I haven't either. Okay. I haven't either.
It's very good.
Maybe we should do it together. We'll have to do a rewatch together.
Well, here's the thing.
It's called a watch if you've never watched it.
Oh, yeah.
I never watched Brothers and Sisters, and that show rocked my fucking life.
We
love Brothers and Sisters too.
It's some of the best. Also, it was from 2006. And there was a bisexual character, there was a queer character, there was a divorced woman, there was there was all of these things that you would never see on TV.
No.
And it was human. Also, there was Sally Field. And they humanized all of them, and not in a terrible way. Like everyone, also because it was 22 episodes, we were allowed to have these like humanized people. And I don't think that we get that anymore, because we have to like put everything in so quick. And it's just like, I don't get a chance to enjoy these characters. I don't get a chance to, exist with them and then see how I feel about them.
Well, that's how I feel about Modern Family. I'm a huge fan of Modern Family. And, I rewatched the whole series with my kids who are 8 and 11, and it is such an important show.
Yeah.
And, I'm divorced, right? We come from a blended family. And so for us to sit down as a family and watch a show like that and see like they still love each other, and they're also really angry with each other and all these things. And there's a gay wedding, and there's an adopted kid. It's like, it's just, again, going back to representation, like it matters. Yeah. It really matters when you are 11 years old and you see a boy who also, my son is like a poet, writer also, right? And to see Manny on TV, who also loves to do all that, he feels not alone. And I think we need to, I hope our generation of people is remembering, right, that this representation of all of these different things, it is so important. So we appreciate the work that you're doing to keep much updated. So Meech, if somebody is going through a fresh start journey and they're listening to this podcast, what would be some wise words of encouragement that you could leave with them?
I would say, first of all, divorce is okay. Don't ever stay somewhere where you are not being loved and treated respectfully. And, divorce is not going to be the end of your world. I swear it might feel like it, but it's not. So that's one thing. Like I, have friends who are going through that now, and I'm just like, think about, like, you're young. It's not going to be the end. Even if it's not going to be the end of your world.
No.
But I'd also say it's okay to start over. It is very, very much okay to start over. And sometimes, what's that? Is it Semisonic who said that every new beginning is the end?
Yes, every new beginning is
So it's it's a beautiful song, and it's a great message, and I think it's one of those things that it's scary to jump, but sometimes, girl, you're gonna fly.
Like Wicked coming out soon.
Exactly.
Okay. Most important question before we let you go. What was the last thing that you ate and really loved?
Okay. So there is a restaurant here in New York called La Mercerie. I go there every other Sunday. They have this thing called La Jolie Weekend, which is just like, it's a beautiful restaurant, but I sit outside. Sometimes I'll sit inside if the weather's bad, but I'll sit outside and just like enjoy the Sunday. And they have this thing called a crepe complete. It is a beautifully done crepe with ham, a like really beautiful eggs, some cilantro, cheese, and I always have it with asparagus on the side and a tequila gimlet.
Sounds amazing.
Good order.
Just all these flavors. It's also just like very beautifully green as well. So it's all these flavors that just really complete each other and complement each other. And it's, I believe in like kind of treating yourself and enjoying things alone. Because having someone, there in your company is great, but like taking yourself out and just enjoying yourself and the weather and the silence or the talking, who cares? I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. And
I love that.
You did mention at the beginning before we started recording that you were a very good cook, chef as well. So what's something that you ate recently that you made that you loved?
Ooh, I love I can't remember the name of the pasta, but it was like this like really weird pasta shape. But I like gamey food, so I love like lamb. I love duck. I make a fantastic duck à l'orange. I really love like bison, having like a bison tagliatelle. Any pasta, I am all for. I'll pay for it because I'm like gluten intolerant, but but yeah, I don't know. I love cooking. I love cooking all kinds of meals, desserts. My heart.
You're a Renaissance man.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. So what is coming up for you next? What can we all be on the lookout for?
Oh my God. So I have a book of essays. Well, I don't know if I could talk about that actually, but
I have a book of essays. Yes.
I'm writing a book of essays based on film, actually. It's called Kind of Like the Movies. And it kind of goes, it pairs my life and films and how they've been similar. And
amazing. Cannot wait to read that.
Yeah. And so, I have my Substack now that I mention it, which is great. And it's doing really, really well. It's a Substack bestseller, which you should absolutely subscribe to. I have that.
We'll put the link in them.
I'm wriring a gay rom-com too. Actually,
yay! I knew there was a movie coming.
Getting some representation in there. I have a lot going on, but
we love that.
It all happens before the world comes to an end, or we have a terrible election. So I guess we're
not going to have a terrible election. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Because we're going to be working towards that. But, I just want to say, and I know this sounds silly, but your tweets really do make my day better. And
thank you so much.
I know that they are pop culture-y and maybe they're, they seem silly to you, but, as somebody that's like, we're doing a lot of hard, difficult work right now with the election and with, all those spaces that we're in, to be able to sign into Twitter and see, your stuff is just like, it makes my blood pressure go down. So, keep up the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You also keep us informed.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't know who Mudang was until you started talking about him.
Oh my God.
All Mudang.
Mudang is the sister I never had, even though I have a sister. She is the mother, the 2-month-old mother I've always wanted. She is everything to me. She really, I've never considered going to Asia because it's too hot, but I'm strongly considering going there just to visit.
Well, I'm just curious why Mudang? Like, what is there that connection?
I love fat little animals. I'm a fan of dogs. I love a puppy. I love like any fat little animal, like truly. But Mudang, the first photo I saw of her, like biting someone's knee, allegedly, I don't say she's innocent until proven guilty. And just like rolling around and like being chased by water. I was like, this is the freedom, the whimsy that I have always wanted for myself. I'm like, if I could live the life of Mudang. Also, she has great skin. Can we just talk about that? Like, fantastic skin.
I feel like, you know what it is, Meech? You are the main character of a movie.
It's true. It's true.
You really are.
Yeah. I haven't stopped thinking about your response to somebody that asked how they could be Mudang for Halloween without going in blackface. And your response was, I wonder what goes on. And some of yours, like, empty heads.
I truly just, like, first of all, Moding is not a black person. She's not a person.
Bowen Yang just showed up on SNL as a perfect Moding.
Exactly. And there's no blackface there. And I just really, I don't understand how stupid people are, but also just like willing to let us know how stupid they are. It's really concerning. It's really concerning.
Another one that I saw today. I think you just responded to somebody, bring back diaries.
Yeah, oh my God. Please go and look back at that thread. Yeah, it was literally like maybe 27 tweets of just like the most insane shit you've ever read in your entire life. And I was like, why would you ever?
Because people don't know how to process offline anymore.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
no, but you know what I will say, as I really appreciate about you before we go, is that I think for a long time, because of cancel culture, people were afraid to kind of give hot takes, right, and opinions, and say like, no, I don't really like, you know, J-Lo doing this, or I think that, like, you know, I know how you feel about Blake Lively's new hairline, you know, things like that, and insane. And I think that, you know, I really appreciate you taking a stance, because I know it's about pop culture and it can be silly, but it's still taking a stance, and it's important to see other people doing that, and you're modeling that for people.
Yeah.
Yes, people have hive mind, and they don't understand that you don't have to fall. Thank God I grew up with a mother who was like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
To fall in line with everyone else.
Yeah.
And I have never, ever felt the need to do that. And not that I'm just like a contrarian, but like I fully believe in the things that I say. Like, I don't just like say something because someone else said it. Like,
yeah,
it's never ever been. Also, what are they going to do? They can't beat me up. They're not going to stop me.
I agree with you, Meech. I'm the same way. Yep, I'm the same way.
What they're going to do? Crazy.
What is the worst? I just saw that. I just tweeted. Somebody had tweeted that today. Like, don't worry about being embarrassed on the internet. What are they going to do? Like, who cares?
This gets back to the thing of it's okay to be cringe. Like,
exactly.
we got to take chances. Yeah.
And cringe is sexy. Exactly. Well, we appreciate you so much. Please go follow Meech and all his great stuff. And I truly, friend, I think this is the beginning for you. I am so excited to see you just like rocket ship into this world. And I know really big things are coming for you. So
when you win an Oscar, we'll be like, he was on our podcast.
Last week. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, like,
what a gorgeous photo of the two of you.
Insane. Like, it truly does feel like.
Yeah, she's an angel on earth. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. We adore you. Come back anytime. Seriously.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to today's episode. A Fresh Story podcast is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the first and only platform for everything you need to begin again, from home items to Hype Team and everything in between. You can learn more and read today's show notes at afreshstory.com.
Are you a freelancer, solopreneur, writer, creative, or professional looking to achieve your goals within a supportive community? Have you found that working from home on your own gets lonely? That you're missing the accountability and community of a positive workplace environment? We understand. And we're so excited to introduce you to the Fresh Starts Collective. For just $35 per month, gain access to 6 daily offerings a week, including virtual co-working, open office hours for business coaching, accountability sessions, and networking opportunities. Enjoy expert workshops, monthly events, and an extensive content library. Connect with marketing, design, and writing professionals to brainstorm and grow together. Surround yourself with accountability, community, and growth. Elevate your journey with the Fresh Starts Collective for only $35 per month. Visit freshstartsregistry.com and join us today.